6 o'clock? Recording? It is Tuesday, September 3rd at 6 p.m., and I will call this City of Lacey City Council meeting to order. Before we get started, we have Mayor Ryder is absent tonight, and Councilmember Greenstein will be attending remotely. So all those are willing, or able, maybe both, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is our land acknowledgement. We, the City of Lacey, are on the ancestral land of the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek, including the Nisqually Indian Tribe and the Squaxin Indian Tribe. We acknowledge and remember those tribal people who recognized today who were absorbed or relocated into other tribes for survival. We continue to recognize the ancestors and their descendants who are still here. We recognize and respect the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek as the traditional stewards of this land since time immemorial. And with that, can I get a motion for our agenda and our consent agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And that motion, is there any opposed? And that motion passes unanimously. We have an agenda. First on our agenda is public comment, and under public comment is not a dialogue. The purpose of this agenda item is for you to inform us about your views. Comments made by members of the public are theirs alone and are not endorsed by the City of Lacey. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Please provide your name, city of residence, or connection to Lacey, and the subject matter of your comments. And with that, it looks like we had one written comment, which will be added to the record. And we have one person who would like to speak to this council tonight and has signed up. We have Ms. Cynthia Pratt.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor Miller and council members. Back in April, when I read my poem, I said, stay tuned, that I was putting together a special reading, and I finally finalized it. And Kathleen Bird, from the Poet Laureate from Olympia, and myself will be reading. It's titled Lacey Loves Laureates, and it will be at the train depot building from 6:30 to, well, actually 7:45. It says 8 here, but that's in case it kind of slops over, because you know poets, and they tend to wander. So I would like to invite all of you and the audience and any of the audience that's online to attend. And basically, the Q&A afterwards, we're going to read for 30 minutes each, and then we'll have a Q&A, and you can ask us about the Poet Laureate program, both in Olympia and here, or about what poets do, or whatever you want, as long as, as long as we can answer them. Okay. So with that, I hope to see some of you at the reading, and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Our next agenda item is proclamations, and our first proclamation tonight is National Voter Registration Day.
City of Lacey official proclamation. Whereas registering to vote empowers eligible community members to exercise their right to vote on Election Day. And
whereas the City of Lacey is committed to strengthening democracy by encouraging voter registration and increasing participation in all elections. And
whereas civic-minded people and organizations have collaborated to establish September 17th, 2024 as National Voter Registration Day. And whereas the goal for the 2024 National Voter Registration Day is to create awareness of elections and motivate eligible community members to vote in the coming months. And
Whereas the strength of our democracy depends on the willingness of our community members to participate by choosing those who lead us and by voicing their opinions on important matters that will come before the voters on Election Day. Ann?
Whereas the Thurston County Urge Your Neighbors to Vote Challenge aims to encourage regular voters to reach out to their neighbors with the tools and information they need to feel informed and empowered to turn in their ballots. And
Now, therefore, I, Malcolm Miller, Deputy Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of the City of Lacey Council, do hereby recognize September 17th as National Voter Registration Day in Lacey and encourage all eligible community members to register to vote when they have received their ballot and to encourage others to vote. And so tonight, we are privileged to have our Thurston County Auditor come and accept this proclamation. Her accolades are many, so I'm not going to go down the list of all the things that she's accomplished, but Mary Hall, please come up. Picture with us? Okay. Maybe we're not doing pictures tonight. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
For receiving this proclamation. Would you like to say a few words?
I would, thank you. Well, thank you very much for recognizing National Voter Registration Day. You know, voting is a cornerstone of our democracy, and it's a really simple process to register to vote. You can go to our website, which is thurstonwavotes.gov. You can go to the state site, which is votewa.gov. You can do it online. All you need is a driver's license or the last four of your Social Security number. So it's a very simple process. And I'm excited to say that this year in Thurston County, we have passed the 200,000 number for registered voters in Thurston County. So that's pretty exciting, and we have a very high voter registration percentage for voter-eligible people in the county. I also think it's important to let people know, if it's your sister, your daughter, your granddaughter, anybody who is 17 before Election Day, if they're 17 today, they can still register to vote as long as they turn 18 before Election Day, which is on November 5th. So no reason to wait. They can participate in this process. So I appreciate your efforts and everybody who is watching and in the audience. Democracy is really important, and it really ensures the quality of life that we have in this country. We've made it so easy in Washington State to register and vote. Everybody can get a ballot in the mail. We have 30 drop boxes located across the county and 2 voting centers, one of them, which is here at the Lacey Library. So that is our second voting center, and that will open up on October 28th, and it's a full-fledged voting center. I also think it's important to point out that we have moved. So we've kind of been in different locations for the last few years since the pandemic, but we are now out at the Montman Industrial Park. It's 2905 29th Avenue Southwest. So it's very easy to find us, and it's going to be our permanent home. So if for some reason you need something before our voting center opens here in Lacey, please do visit us. So thank you very much. I appreciate the proclamation and for your recognition of National Voter Registration Day.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I did actually have a quick one. So we've surpassed 200,000 for a county of what, slightly over 300,000?
Correct.
And so and those are just for the eligible ages of voters. So if we were to take out those who are less than 18, do we know what like our percentage is? Are we pretty high up there?
I don't have an exact number. We really have an exact number when we get finished with the census, but we are somewhere up in the 78 to 80 range.
Wow.
Percent, which is pretty darn good.
Okay.
So.
That is awesome.
So can I make one more plug?
Absolutely.
Okay. I know there are a lot of doubters in the world that don't think their vote counts the way they intended it to, or there's something fishy going on in voting centers across the state and nation. But I want to point out, we just certified a statewide hand recount today for Commissioner of Public Lands. And when that recount started, the vote difference was 51 votes. When they certified today, the vote difference was 51 votes. This is 39 counties across the state. Now, a couple counties might have found 2 for this candidate, but then another county found 1, and another county found 1. But for the most part, every single county in the state had a 0 variance from ballots cast. So I just want to congratulate my colleagues and really hope that people trust the system. And it's not just me who does this job, it's your friends and neighbors who come to work to help elections be successful. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary. Our next agenda item, or actually we're still on the same item. Our next proclamation is the Emergency Prepared Month proclamation.
City of Lacey, official proclamation. Whereas in the Pacific Northwest we face the threat of earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, weather events, floods, and human tragedies with unpredictable consequences which can disrupt power, communications, and travel infrastructure. And
whereas first responders may not always be able to reach community members quickly in an emergency or disaster, and whereas the Lacey community can take action to prepare, respond, and recover from any natural or human disaster. The more who are prepared, the safer we stay and the faster our community will recover. And
whereas we encourage community members to learn more about preparedness by attending local events and visiting the ready.gov website to make a family preparedness plan, create an emergency kit and evacuation plan, prepare for local hazards, and teach youth about emergency education. And
whereas we encourage the community to visit the Federal Emergency Management Agency's website, FEMA.gov, to learn more about this year's focus on Asian, American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. And
whereas Lacey community members who are prepared to meet any emergency or disaster can be a positive influence on their neighbors by sharing their preparedness story and encouraging the participation of friends, family, and coworkers. And
now, therefore, I, Malcolm Miller, Deputy Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of the Lacey City Council, do hereby recognize the month of September 24 as Emergency Preparedness Month in Lacey, and encourage all community members to prepare themselves, their families, and their neighbors for the consequences of an emergency. And tonight, we will be handing this proclamation to Kyle Boosted, who is the Thurston County Emergency Management Manager.
Thank you. I know it's a mouthful.
No, it's okay. Thank you and for being here. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, please. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor and council members. I am Kyle Bustad, Thurston County Emergency Management Manager. Yes, it's a mouthful. I'm honored to be here today to accept this proclamation on behalf of our community as you recognize September as Preparedness Month. As an emergency manager, I think it's especially important that we prepare not only as a government, but as a community. And so this is a nice way to remind our residents and community that it's important that they prepare for disaster, not just our government. From threats of earthquakes, floods, volcanic activity, it's important that we are vigilant and ready for anything that could possibly come. I encourage our community to make a kit, get a plan, make an emergency plan, talk to your family about that plan. Don't just make the plan. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for sometimes. Talk to them about it and learn about the hazards that wherever your location is, wherever you live or stay. There are, as mentioned, there are a great number of excellent resources from FEMA.gov to Thurston County Emergency Management, and City of Lacey Emergency Management has some great resources on their website. And as a reminder, when we prepare ourselves and get ourselves ready, this allows our first responders to be more efficient and effective to responding to those that have a greater need. So thank you again. This is a great deal. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is ordinances. And tonight we have ordinance number 1663, which is our 2024 budget amendment, presented by Troy Wu, our finance director.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Good evening, Council. You have before you the ordinance, as Deputy Mayor said, to amend the 2024 budget. You do have an explanation, a staff report of the most significant amendments, and you have the full details of the proposed amendments in Exhibit A of the ordinance. I would like to highlight some of the more significant amendments for you, as well as one staffing change. So we do have one mid-year position that we're adding to the budget. This is an engineering construction manager position. So you do see the partial year salaries and benefits for this position. The reason for this addition is just significant growth in our city capital facilities and parks projects. There are 4 amendments included, all related to grants that were secured by the Community and Economic Development Department, related to growth management, climate grant, middle housing, as well as an electrification and appliance rebate program. You do see a number of construction-related amendments within our transportation divisions, as well as water and sewer. While the numbers look significant, this is really pretty typical in terms of construction and design as we actually get into projects. You'll see a number of amendments related to really reconciling the funding to the police station and training facility project. Of course, you know, we were able to thankfully award the training facility project as an alternative bid. So I changed the funding and timing just a little bit, so this is really a reconciliation of that. I'm also happy to present a $250,000 amendment. This will start the pre-design for the RAC Phase 3 project. As you know, this is a multi-year project, and it's really critical we get started now to make sure that we meet our deadlines in terms of reissuing debt for the continuation of that sales tax source. In total, your amendments that are being proposed are just over $3.3 million. Again, the recommendation is that you adopt the ordinance that will amend the 2024 budget.
I thought you're done.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say I'd be happy
I'd
to
move to
entertain
adopt
questions.
ordinance number 1663, amending the 2024 budget.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion about these changes? Okay. Seeing none, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Seeing none, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Troy. Next on our agenda is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. First on the city manager report, we have an agreement for transfer of interest in the Tumwater Brewery assets. And I would like to invite Peter Brooks, our water resources manager, up to provide a briefing to the council on this proposal.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Council. As City Manager said, tonight you have on the agenda the agreement to transfer Lacey's brewery assets to the City of Tumwater. And the purpose of this presentation is to convey the major components of the agreement and to provide an opportunity for the council members to ask questions, make sure you're clear on it. And I'll also provide a recommendation, spoiler alert, that the City Council vote to authorize the City Manager to sign the agreement. Slides, got it. There we go. So a little historical context. June 2003, the Olympia Brewery closes, and then November of 2008, cities of Tumwater, Olympia, Lacey agree to purchase the brewery water rights and specified property for $4.5 million. That was $3 million for the land and $1.5 million for the water rights. September of 2009, the Department of Ecology confirms the Thurston County Water Conservancy Board's decision to transfer water rights to the partner cities. And in March of 2021, Lacey City Council directs staff to prepare a memorandum of agreement for the brewery asset transfer. That document was the rules of engagement. There are 3 partners, who wants to sell what to whom, and how do you go about doing that, and all the technicalities of it. So we all had a clear understanding of what the negotiations could look like. And so we did negotiate on the basis of that MOA. And August of 2024, right now, we have an agreement for the transfer of Lacey's brewery assets to the city of Tumwater in exchange for slightly over $2.4 million.
Peter, do you want questions during the process, or you want to wait till the
If
end?
you would like to, sure. I can flow with that.
Okay. So can you help us and the public understand how we arrive at at this $2.4 million? And I imagine there was some type of appraisal situation happens, but just for context.
Okay. The $2.4 million is based on that there are 2 major components of the value of the property. One is the tangible assets, the land, and the improvements on the land. And the other component of it is the value of the water rights. So you take the aggregate of those 2, you get a number. Then from that, you subtract the liabilities that the city of Lacey still has going forward. And that would be things like 30 wells that need to be decommissioned. That would be, let's see. Yeah, there's a reservoir that has to be demolished, and there is demolition of well buildings, and there is construction engineering and design engineering, project management, essentially from a consultant for all this kind of work that has to go on the property. That has a certain value. So you take what the agreed upon appraisal values were, both land and water, and you subtract Lacey's liabilities, because Tumwater will be taking those over, and that's how you arrive at the price. The picture that's up there right now is the property that we're talking about. The white line around the perimeter, that is where the water rights are. So water rights exist in a quarter section, and there are numerous water rights, and they all aggregate together. And so that's why you get this kind of irregular pattern. Each one of these is a quarter section, and it's just the way it all works out. And so just for context, that's Deschutes River. We're down in the valley with the Tumwater Golf Course. Over on the left-hand side is I-5 Capitol Way, and then Cleveland Boulevard and parts of Tumwater. The falls would be just north off of the picture. That's the location. So the main points of this agreement. The main points is that the city of Lacey grants Tumwater the exclusive right to develop Lacey's brewery assets. Now, the way we've constructed this is it's a right in perpetuity sort of a thing. So when you think about software that you might purchase, you don't own the code. You own the right to use, right? Whoever, Microsoft, Netflix, Google, they still have the code. They don't want you reverse engineering it. They don't want you taking little kernels of it out and using it. But you can use the software as a consumer product. That's what your right is. And for this first stage, that's what Tumwater is purchasing. They're purchasing our liabilities, and they are purchasing the right to use the property to develop the water right. So going forward then, Tumwater will pay the city a little over $2.4 million within 90 days of the signing of the agreement. And the city of Tumwater will assume all of Lacey's rights and liabilities. And once the city of Tumwater has fully developed, and the technical term for that is reperfected, the water rights, the city of Lacey will quit claim its interest in the assets. So at some point in the future, once the water rights are redeveloped, they'll get the land and the water in actual ownership. But until then, they just have the right to use it. Okay, next step. So we have 3 options for the council to take. Option 1 is to authorize the city manager to sign the agreement for the transfer of interests in the brewery assets. Option number 2 is you decline to authorize the city manager to sign the agreement. And option number 3 is you provide specific direction to city staff on other elements that we need to consider in regards to the agreement. And after such consideration, we will come back to the City Council for additional review. And no surprise, staff option is number 1, that you authorize the city manager to sign the agreement to transfer Lacey's interest in the brewery assets to Tumwater. Any questions?
Can we get a motion on this?
I would move to authorize the city manager to sign the agreement to transfer the interests of the brewery assets between the city of Lacey and the city of Tumwater.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Questions?
I have 2 questions. I recall when I was newer on council, this was one of those things that was complex enough that I think I was scheduled into a private meeting to have it explained to me in depth because there's a lot of history behind this. But sort of the summary of my memory on that is that the feasibility for Lacey to use these water rights was, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze for us to pull these, this water into Lacey. I'm curious what the city of Olympia is doing with their rights, since this was originally a 3-city agreement. Do we know?
Right. So when we actually purchased these water rights from the brewery, the people who came after the brewery collapsed and they purchased it. When we purchased it from them, we really didn't know what we were getting. We understood there was a fair amount of water because there was a brewery for a while, and then a person purchased it to have a water bottling company. So you figure there's lots of water there. And there is water there, but what we've discovered is the water is of very low quality, and you'd have to go rather deep to get it. And how many wells you could put in within that white perimeter map lines that I showed, it's unclear. So there's a lot of complications, and could be a lot of effort and money spent to develop it. So like you said, the juice isn't worth the squeeze for Lacey, especially since we are so far away. Olympia also understands it's going to be expensive. I'm not trying to speak for them, but they recently invested a lot of money over in the McAllister well field and more pipeline to connect to their existing pipeline. And that's where their bread and butter for their water supply is. These water rights they'll develop in the future, maybe 40, 50 years from now, when water's getting tight again for them and it's worth spending the money. But right now it's not worth it to spend their ratepayer money to develop these.
And my second question was a finance question. Where do we put the $2.4 million that we're earning as we sell these rights? Is it going into reserves?
I think we would put it right back into our water capital fund for future investments elsewhere.
Councilor Stedman.
Do you have a time frame of how long it would take Tumwater to develop those rights?
They need water now, so I'm sure that they'll start putting the beneficial use. In terms of developing the full amount, I don't know what their schedule is for that. I know that there's a time frame. It's, I think, 2040 something is when ecology says you have to have shown that you've perfected the rights. If they haven't gotten there, it may be possible to ask for another extension. We asked for one already, but they have to at least be making due diligence towards that, and I certainly believe they will since they have a need.
So probably within 15 years, right? 20.
Maybe. Okay. Don't quote me on that one.
So in 20, 30 years from now, you'll bring a quitclaim request to this. Somebody will. To this council to finally transfer this property over, the ownership over.
To add one thing to more specifically to your question, Deputy Mayor. With regard to the appraisals, there was 2 separate appraisals done, and these were done by professional appraisers that were all agreed to by the cities. And Olympia was a part of this agreement because they have joint ownership. So all 3 cities agreed to this process. Tumwater and Lacey agreed to the appraisers to be used. One appraiser was specific to the water rights, the other was, and then Pete mentioned this, to all the land. And improvements. Pete and his staff kind of reviewed those appraisals. I reviewed them independently. Pete and his staff got together with Scott and I and kind of came to our own independent conclusion of what our recommendation to the council would be as far as what we felt the value should be in relation to the appraised process. Tumwater did the same thing, and their offers pretty much hit the mark. So there was a lot of process and a lot of analysis into the work done by the appraisers before this was even brought to you.
So it was just Lacey's portion that was appraised, or did Olympia
No, it was-
also do an appraisal?
The whole parcels were appraised, and then we did, well, based on a third of the value is what Lacey's
Okay, so that's,
interest is going
that's
to be.
the formula.
Correct.
Okay, full appraisal, third of the value. That's the moving point.
That's what Tumwater's paying to have transferred.
Gotcha.
And a third of the liabilities.
And a third of the liabilities.
Which come. The appraisal minus the liabilities equals the offer, which is what the city's staff's recommending to the council.
So during this 10, 20, 30 years of time where a quitclaim actually happens, if there is any liability that comes up because of this property, we are held harmless.
That's right. And we could speak for a while about why we're not just quitclaiming everything to them right now, but their water rights, there's some complications. We've done a lot of work over the last several years developing a process to be able to transfer it without concern for the validity of the water rights. And so once they get perfected, that's when we'll transfer them finally with quitclaim deed. But yeah, all the right and responsibility to that property and water rights is going to be Tumwater's upon approval of this agreement.
Understood. I wouldn't want to put on title yet either. Please.
So what happens if it's never perfected and,
I guess
go off into perpetuity, or?
Hypothetically speaking, if it's never perfected, at some point in time, the Department of Ecology will say, you're not showing due diligence, you really don't need these water rights, poof, they're gone.
So it's in Tumwater's best interest to work quickly to re-perfect these water rights, and we expect them to do so.
And so just, it seems like every question brings another question. If somehow they aren't able to perfect these water rights, or they don't move quickly enough, or they don't do their diligence, does this property fall back to us, or how does that? Because we have yet to quitclaim anything to them.
Correct. If they can't use it and that spoils it and they disappear, we'll still own land, but the water rights will be gone. But that would be true for all three partners, because we own these water rights joint and severally. So it's not like they ruined our water rights, they ruined everybody's water rights.
Stuff for everybody.
Yep.
Is there any more discussion or questions from anybody? Okay, seeing none, it has been moved and seconded to sign this MOU. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, seeing none, that motion passes unanimously.
I will say Peter has a gift of simplifying something that's pretty complex. I mean, we've been dealing with this for several years now, it seems like, and it's.
Agreed.
You present very well.
I remember when we were talking about water wheeling and sending the water through Olympia and then come up to Lacey, and that may have been before we found about the quality of the water, but that was like 3 years ago. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next, I'd like to invite Sue Falish up. Sue's our recreational manager, and she's going to provide a recap of the summer activities for the Parks, Culture, and Recreation Department.
And this is going to be a much lighter subject for all of you to enjoy for this evening. Good evening. Like you'd mentioned, my name is Sue Falish. I'm the recreation manager with the Lacey Parks, Culture, and Recreation. Thank you very much, council members, for having us here tonight, or having me here tonight, to talk about some of the things that our department has done and some of the ways that we have made sure that the public in our community has had a wonderful summer. As you can imagine, summer has been extremely busy. We've had not only concerts in the parks, but stuff going on in the ball fields, and arts and playgrounds and day camps and pretty much everything. So I'm kind of excited to share what we've been doing with you guys, and hopefully this will be a little bit more fun to talk about. Part of our summer recap is we had 23 different special events, which with over 33,000 attendees estimated. We ran 532 different programs with nearly just under 5,000 participants, whether it be adults and youth. Our fields, mainly the RAC and Rainier Vista, we hosted just over the summer 35 tournaments, and there was over 1,000+ teams that have come into the community for those events. At our Jacob Smith House Community Center, there was 60 separate private banquets and 76 meetings over those 3 months. And for volunteers, we had 255 community volunteers for a total of 1,437 hours. The special events one is one of the areas where it seems to get the most publicity, and because it's what's out there, it's seen more than anything. We had a record-breaking attendance at the fireworks spectacular. We had over 25,000 unique cell phones counted within the park that day. And one of the really neat things that I feel about this event is it's a real huge department and citywide collaboration. Not only do we have the fire department there, the police department has a huge part in it. Public Works has a huge part in it. Public Works they logged over 200 hours for just that event. And that's not counting ours, but that's just shows you how it's a big collaboration amongst the city, and it helps bring everything together. Everybody enjoyed the music, the dancing. We had a circus in. The kids zone was great. At those you were there, we had a ton of food trucks that were lined up that were very well used, with the night wrapping up with a great fireworks display.
Sue?
Yes.
So as that event grows, and you see the overhead pictures, it makes you kind of wonder about the capacity for that space.
That is going to be an issue. Everything we have seems to be growing, and it's no different than like Lacey and Toon. That Huntermer Park area is a great avenue for our events and for the Lacey and Toon and the children's events, but it too we're outgrowing that space as well. I don't have a good answer for you, but it's a good problem to have. I'd rather we need something because we have too much interest than not enough interest, but that is going to be, that's really the only place right now that we can feasibly do it that has the most members of our community that make some part of it walkable and easy to get into. So that will be a problem we will probably have to face in the upcoming years. The other ones, just like I talked about, Lacey and Toon, those were very successful. We had over 6,500 folks attending. The 30-year celebration of free music and entertainment, and that's one of the big things that I love to highlight, the fact that we are able to offer some of these free events for the communities where people can bring in their families and have a really good time. We've also do Play in the Park, which this was the 4th anniversary. It's a 6-week series with roughly 900 people, and what we set out to do with this was to take our events and take them to different locations. So instead of everything being at Huntermer, we're going out to Meridian Park, and we're going out to the different parks within our community, the community park or the neighborhood parks, so that we were spreading it out amongst the entire community and not just focused on one location. Here's some pictures of those. We have the fireworks, we had some of the events, the Huntermer Park stage, all the different things that are going. We've had jugglers, we've had knights in armor doing an illustration, we've had drums, we had dog shows, we have the reptile man that loves to come in, which I don't really like, but that's okay. It seems to be very popular. They bring the snakes and all that stuff, and it's like, well, I'll pass on that one. But Jeanette, it's been a fabulous job. Her and her staff do a great job bringing all this stuff to the community, and it shows with all the people that are coming out and taking part in the events. Next area is aquatics. As most of you know, we have struggled with staff since the pandemic. Scott has done a great job of recruiting some additional staff. He was actually able to get fully staffed this year. We offered lessons to 943 participants. They were ages 3 to 12. We also ran a only open swim, which people are coming in, being able to utilize the pool with their families, as well as fitness classes where we had 162 participants. One of the things to mention, not only did we have the 943 participants, but we offered 1,320 swim lesson classes that actually ran. So that's a lot of time for these young kids to be in that water and teaching these kids to swim, and they're teaching them a valuable skill that they're going to have it for a lifetime. So I'm very happy with how that's gone and what he's done to continue to grow that program. Community recreation, that's kind of a catch-all. It has everything from summer fun tour, which is the day camp, for those who aren't familiar. Teen Adventure Camp. On Teen Adventure Camp, they go on a different field trip every day. And Playground Pals, which is a free program. They get the free the lunch at the school, and then we offer recreation programs for them for the rest of the afternoon. And the big part that I think is really important to talk about that is we do have a great relationship with the North Thurston Public Schools. And they have been able to access a grant, and they were giving us, give me 2 seconds here. I want to say they gave us about $40,000 in order to run that free Playground Pals program, and they've done it for the last 2 to 3 years. And I know that the grant is running out, but they are looking for additional funding to continue on with that relationship, because it's a great avenue for their kids and their students to be able to have access to something. I'll show you some of the pictures while I talk a little bit more. We had 8 weeks of the summer day camp, and it had a total of 750 kids over the 8 weeks. The Teen Adventure Camp sold out. We were booked every week, so we had 96 participants over the 8 weeks that were going, like I said, somewhere different every day. And then the Summer Playground Pals, or the Playground Pals, had 720 participants. And the actual dollar amount, now that I found it, was $49,000 that the North Thurston Public Schools donated to us so we were able to run that free program. We've had hip hop classes, there was chess classes, there was called Bricks for Kids, where it's a Lego-based day camp where they build different things with Legos. We had art camps. We had a little bit of everything, and so it's not just day camp and swim lessons. They ran a whole lot of everything, and it was very successful and very happy.
What kind of response do you get from the family and the parents?
We got a great response for the family and parents. The biggest problem that we have with responses is when we have swim lessons, we can't accommodate them. We're full, and we just don't have the ability to take in all of the wait lists and all of the kids that we would like to. But as for the rest of it, we have very positive. They love our programs. They love our camps. Obviously, they keep coming back. Yeah, we're finally up to, we're filling every week, and multiple weeks, they're coming in and they're registering early, so it's a very positive thing.
Yeah.
Next, because not everything is fun, but we do have the reservations. We have the community center and Jacob Smith House that also play a big integral role with our summer. It's a big time for weddings, anniversaries. We had our shelters. We had 528 different shelter reservations in the 4 shelters locations that we have. So there's a lot of people that are getting out and utilizing those. It's $50 for half a day, $100 for a full day. So it's very affordable to go. There's a lot of birthday parties, graduation parties, just get-togethers. I kind of already touched base a little bit on the numbers for the Jacob Smith House and Community Center, but we did collect over $40,000 in the reservations for those. And one of the really kind of neat things, though it is in September, it's not really technically summer, is we are hosting a 70th wedding anniversary at the community center, and I think anybody that can make it to 70 years, that's a huge, huge accomplishment. It's just a really neat thing, and it's really neat that they're going to want to have it at our facility. So there's some pictures of the community center, the Jacob Smith House, and the depot. Next, we have the sports fields, pretty much at Regional Athletic Complex. We hosted 35 tournaments with over 1,000 teams, $103,000, a little over $103,000 in revenue. The soccer complex was a host from everything from, we were working with cricket groups on doing cricket up on fields 5 and 6. We've got a variety of new soccer leagues that are out there. We've got flag football out there. We've got lacrosse out there. And the park as a whole hosted 2024, which is the second or third year of the Polynesian Festival, and coordinated several youth soccer, or not soccer, but sports camps with Skyhawks and with some local soccer clubs. There wasn't any one thing. It was a variety of use. And I have to say that the new parking lot is fabulous. It is so nice to have that parking lot and have the lights and have everything.
For the cricket, are they bringing their own pitch?
Yes.
They are.
And we are storing it right outside because it is very heavy. We have it on pallets and it is on the outside back part of the maintenance sheds.
Okay.
And we do help them load it up and we help take it up there and drop it off. They put it together and they do it, but our staff out there are assisting and they've done a wonderful job of helping them out.
Awesome.
We ran the 12U state tournament this year, which had over 25 teams, and that's the one and only tournament. We always host a USA, used to be ASA fast pitch. We as a department host one a year. We had the 12U this year, we have the 10U next year. We also were awarded the 3A girls fast pitch tournament for next 4 years. So we've had that for a number of years. And we hosted for the last 2 years, and we have one more year with Janet Crater, the USSSA, the Cascade National Tournament, which had 64 teams from around the country. Attended it. We were the main site, and we were the opening ceremonies and the main facility for that event, as well as things like Kings of the Northwest, which had 32 teams from all over the country. And that tournament brings people in from all over, from Canada and some places in Europe, because it's a group where you come in and you have an event Friday night and they draw teams. So you basically, the main tournament is you register as an individual. I mean, teams come in, and then you don't know what team you're going to be on. And it's really kind of a cool place. You meet different people and you do different things. And it's kind of neat to do, nice to see. Here's some pictures. We do have the ultimate frisbee, baseball, and one of the other things that we added this year in the other sports part, not only did we do the Lacey little t-ball, but we also started offering a cross-country camp, which was kind of neat, something different. Little t-ball, I think we had close to 70 teams in the different age groups. And that was all volunteer-based, so you have a parent volunteer coach, and they set it up. It's kind of a feeder team. It's for the younger kids, and that was very successful and did very well. Volunteers. We had 255 volunteers that did a little over 14,000 hours. There was 113 volunteers in our parks, and we had 70 volunteers at special events. The one last thing we did do, and this was the second annual, is we did do a volunteer appreciation. We had an event for them last month where we invite all of the volunteers, whether it be in the parks, the volunteer coaches, anybody that's volunteered within our department, and we do a little celebration for them. We put out games out at the Rainier Vista. We bring in food, have music going, and it's just a time that we can say, hey, thank you very much for the time that you put towards us, because we couldn't do it without them. So that's been something that we've wanted to do, and this was the second annual, and we will continue to do that and hopefully continue to watch those numbers grow as we move into the future. So thank you again, council members, for giving me this time to kind of brag about my staff and everything that they've been doing. Is there any questions you'd like to have? You have.
I just wanted to share, we've known each other a long time, and our kids were super young when we started this venture, But,
yes, they were.
I just want to touch base with ballet and dance, soccer, swimming, baseball. I mean, my son won the USSSA 12 under Washington State Championship because of things he learned through the City of Lacey's programs. My daughter was a Arizona and Washington State champ dancer and a national champ. She started at City of Lacey. Everybody learns how to live a healthy and active lifestyle. and they learn not to drown, swimming lessons. Life-changing stuff, they learn good sportsmanship. We would have never got the countless amount of friends that we did or got involved in our government or our city if it wasn't for the parks program. And it's a quality of life that can be duplicated, but it just happens organically if people value it. And so big shout out to the parks, all the staff, and most of all, people getting involved in their community, because that's what it's really all about. It's our government, it's our town, it's our home, and it's only home if we make it, something worthwhile. So anyways, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cox, you had a comment?
Yes. Just, wow. Those are such impressive numbers, Sue. When I think after my freshman year of college, I was a summer camp recreation coordinator for the city of Pensacola, Florida, which was at that time about the size of Lacey. And that program couldn't touch a candle to what we're doing here today. But I saw firsthand there, and I vicariously see it here, the difference it's making in people's lives. It's just huge. So thank you for what you do.
Yeah, our staff does a phenomenal job, and they put a lot of time and energy into it. And it's not only our staff, it's Scott's staff out there. Without everybody, we couldn't do it. It takes everybody, it takes the village. So I'm glad we're able to take part in this. Any other questions?
I'm very happy to hear that the way you guys are taking care of these volunteers, doing the event for the volunteers. You guys were also responsible for a night out?
For what?
Did you guys do a night out?
No, we don't do the night out.
Okay.
That's done through the police department, I believe. Well, it used to be done through the police department.
Okay, and that was a really great summer event as well. The overall comprehensiveness of what you do is amazing. And the amount of volunteer hours and the amount of volunteers also amazing. I know that I get up and go for a bicycle ride on Saturday morning. My first stop is the Rack. All the shelters are already booked, so it's one of those things that you look at and you think it's working. So I was telling Jen last week. I said, Jen, after of all the times that I brag about some department or whatever the case may be, and Parks has a hand in it, and I very rarely say anything about Parks. It works so smooth, but congratulations, great job, and I know that you guys are doing so well that we don't know if we're going to have the capacity in future years to continue, what we're doing. We're going to have to grow some more space, which you're probably as excited about Great Cuyo Park as the rest of us, to try to accommodate and get more space, more park space, because obviously much needed. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. Have a nice rest of your evening, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Sue. That concludes the city manager's report.
Okay. Next on our agenda is boards, commissions, and committee reports. The mayor's absent, and I do not have a report. Councilmember Greenstein.
I just have one really quick report here. Thurston County Medic 1 EMS met on August 22nd. Couple of things from that meeting. The budget is on track, but very tight. The new medic units that we've been waiting for have been further delayed, and we're not going to have those now until sometime in 2025. So that's going to delay us putting out that 8th medic unit that we have planned for. 50th anniversary gala is scheduled for the 28th of this month at 6 p.m. If anyone's interested, let me know. I can get you the information on that. And just today, the Board of County Commissioners actually approved the bylaws that we had been working on for quite some time. And that is my report.
Councilmember Stedman.
No report.
Councilmember Cox.
One report. Regional Housing Council met on August the 28th. We approved requests from the Family Support Center for $1 million to purchase a 3-acre parcel with several smaller buildings. There are 2 houses and a duplex. These will be used for about 8 years for permanent supportive housing for families with children. Excuse me. Can you come back to me?
Yes, Councilmember Vasquez.
I have no report. We have a Thurston Regional Planning Council meeting on this coming Friday and a Board of Health meeting next Tuesday. So, more to come.
Thank you. Councilmember Dunning.
I have nothing to report.
All right, and Councilmember Cox.
I'm going to try again. Sorry about that. So after 8 years, these buildings would be demolished and a large multifamily project would be built on the site. This money is from what we call the Opportunity Fund. The Housing Council sets aside money every year because sometimes projects that don't make it into the long-term planning called the pipeline present themselves. And this is such an opportunity here. So we've decided to go ahead and make that available. The Housing Council agreed to sign on to the Black Home Initiative. You may recall I mentioned a few weeks ago on a report that this program, which is designed to try to help Black families buy homes, is in the offing. Olympia has signed on to it. Habitat for Humanity has signed on to it. Tumwater is supportive. I reported that we're interested, but we have some process to go through on this. So while the Housing Council has signed on, the other jurisdictions can join if and when they're ready to do that. It's not a deadline kind of thing. We also talked about legislative priorities and how best to get the Housing Council's priorities packaged with those of the participating jurisdictions. We did that last year, and we're hoping not to have to do it quite as last minute as that. And then lastly, the county is going to, well, Olympia and the county are writing a grant to try to take advantage of a program called Pathways to Removing Obstacles. And again, this is another program to remove barriers to purchase housing. So grant application is due in mid-October. Olympia will have a public hearing in September, and hopefully we'll know something early next year, whether those funds have come through. And that's my report. And sorry again for all the coughing.
No worries. Sounds like a lot of exciting things happening at the Regional Housing Council. Very excited to see how this parcel turns out. Is there any idea of like how much can fit on that parcel? I know it's super early to be able to say anything like that, but.
One for the Family Support Center?
Correct.
Well, it's 3 acres, so that's
quite a
pretty
bit.
good sized chunk of land.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
Okay, well, with that, unless somebody has something further for the good of the order or just something to say? Okay, well then we have reached the end of our agenda today, and I don't really have any closing words. Do you have anything, City Manager?
I do not.
Okay, well, with that then, I will call this meeting adjourned. You keep it classy, Lacey.